That is a whole lot better. I'm really like, we've gone through like six. Well, we're on chapter 6 now. We've gone through 5 chapters, and we now realize you can change the background too from that white screen. Cause oh my god, that white screen. Well, I was like, as soon as it came up, I was like, ugh. I didn't know you can change it. Okay, so we're back on Vampire's Kiss. We're on chapter 6. Can't believe I've gone through like 5 chapters. Only now just realized I could change like the background color and everything. Although I could probably make the text larger for y'all. The familiar doors of the London Court of Vampires open without creak as you step from the streets of London to the quiet realm of blood, feast, and civility. The streets outside have been unremarkable, even after the news of the break-in at Holland Park in absence of a wealthy socialite. It's as if London, in its cool and callous way, has absorbed the situation, noted it, and moved on without casual indifference, relegating the mysterious vanishing of Alex Hayward to little more than water cooler gossip. You're still amazed how easily society adapts to chaos, and how easily a supernatural ripple is dismissed as something mundane. You take a moment before you enter. What is your ultimate plan for tonight? If you're going to defeat Saffron, you'll need the support of the court. It means allying with Fergus or possibly building a power block of your own. The later move would be risky, but it will let you take on Saffron directly. There is a third way, however. She might have tried to kill you, but there's something to learn about Saffron de Lazille. Maybe you should side with her instead. There's no way she'd accept you as a rival, but perhaps a lover. Of course, if you did support Saffron, you would help plunge London into eternal night. Your soul would be tainted forever, and there would be no going back to the life you previously enjoyed. You would also find yourself directly opposed to your old friends, and Kurt Wilcox will actively oppose to you. None of these welts deserve your aid. You know it's your shadow, independent of your own movement, fold its arms, ceasing for a moment to pretend it's merely a trick of the light, and revealing itself as an extension of your soul. That black pit, that chrono-vampirism that has afflicted you. It is the thirst. You listen to its counsel, knowing full well you still have the willpower to push it down and refuse it. Saffron is a fool. She moved against you too quickly, not realizing what a potent ally you could have been. Ignore her charms. Side with the others. And once you've crushed the plateful minx, well, who says you have to turn down the power? It's up to you whether you side with Fergus and Marky or join Saffron's growing faction. There's a lot of options. Do we side with Fergus? Keep vampires a secret. Want revenge. You side because I trust Marky. I do not want Saffron. Take the reliquary? No, I don't feel like it. And the world needs to be enslaved? No. And do I really want revenge? No, I'll just go with Marky. We trust Marky's opinion. There is one person who has always given you good advice since you became a vampire. Marky. It's why you chose them as a lover. Your sweet, funny Victorian vampire has always been right, and just thinking of the counsel they would offer gives you a warm feeling. You can't wait to get back to them and to be together once this is over. You head inside, as long as you don't betray me. Then we're good. You step through into the marble interior and make your way to the salon once again. And once again, you can't help but know all eyes have fallen on you. The vampires of London have gathered. The only one who doesn't look up is the familiar sight of Clem, the woman in the spiked helmet, sipping blood and petting her cat. Worryingly, she is the one present at the Witten you recognize. Saffron and Fergus haven't arrived, and Marky is in no stage to go anywhere. In the far corner, a large vampire in a business suit is laughing raucously at a joke with colleagues. Nearby, a slender woman with dark eyes dressed all in black observes you quietly. Gradually, the attention from you fades, allowing you to study the room in turn. All human life seems to be here, all races, gender, and ages, from an elderly woman dressed in furs and finery who looks as if she could fall over in a strong breeze, to a youthful teen that reminds you of Marky, hair ice blonde and styled in the latest cut. Most of the crowd is dressed in suits or cocktail dresses, some even more formally in bow ties and evening gowns. It's a reminder of how cosmopolitan a city like London can be. It's all too easy to forget that every single one of them is a vampire. You walk over to Clem. She salutes you with her goblet. Bean, sitting at Clem's side, looks up at you in hope of a quick pet and even offers a slow beat by way of welcome. Pets are available, it seems. You let Beans leap up into your arms for some strokes of her smooth fur before the cat vanishes off elsewhere. Someone's made a friend, Clem says. You'll need him if you're going to get through the next hour. Whose side are you on? You ask. Clem looks in her goblet, shrugs, then takes a swig. I'm just here to slip hemoglobin, keep my cat safe, and judge you all. Clem sighs. But if I were you, and I really wanted to make a good impression, she points to the crowds. That woman in black is Saskia Kosik. The large guy is Chris Valentine. Chris is a Saffron supporter. Sasika. I can't with this name. Sasika is the best fighter at court, and she's on Fergus' side, but hasn't thrown in her support publicly yet. She's easy to impress. Just make some catty insult toward whomever you don't like. Most vampires find it vulgar, but she loves it. It's a good idea. You walk over to Sasisko's group and intending to make an impression. Do I want to crack a joke? Curiously, drifting through the crowd. We'll just greet her for now. You smile and give a slight bow. Good evening, you say, letting the tone of your voice turn to spun silk. And how are we all this evening? The woman in black gives you a tilt of the head. A pleasure, Miss Rose. I heard you've been causing a ruckus in Holland Park. No more than some others, you reply with a smile. I've been trying to keep my head down in this new life. Indeed, the woman says, offering her hand. Her long, pale arms are sheathed in elbow-length gloves. Sakia Kosi, tell me, have you heard of me? You decide to play her ego. Of course, he said. I spent my time so far learning more about the vampires of London, and Marky is an excellent tutor. Oh, really? Sakia says, her eyebrow arching like the tip of a harpoon. Somehow I doubt Marky has had time to tell you who I am. I make it my business to keep some mysteries to myself. There's an awkward moment as the group stares at you. It's not with kindness. Sakia looks over you. In a few moments, Saffron de Lazille will attempt to oust Fergus from power. We all know it's coming, and we all know whatever has been going on seems to center around you, a catalyst, a spark, a brilliant flame that sets the gunpowder alight. She straightens up. So, why don't you tell me what you think is about to happen? This is an opportunity to gain Sakia's support. I mean, they did say she did like insults, and now I don't like. I'm just going to insult. I think someone's going to talk about themselves for a few moments, perhaps monologue like a supervillain and do something regrettable. Sakia can barely restrain herself from snickering. Oh, very good, she says with a nod of approval. I do hope you're right. It's about time someone gets served just desserts. I hope so, you say. There's only so much vapid flirting that I can stomach. Doesn't she realize everyone can see through it? Although tonight I expect she might be after something more. Sakia nods and steps forward, and her voice falls to a little more than a soft breath. If Saffron tries something, we will be ready. Sakia's lips purse in thought. Well, Miss Rose, you have others you no doubt wish to speak with, and I shall not keep you a moment longer. You should know where I stand in due course. In unison, the rest of her faction turn their heads to look at you, and you get the distinct impression your presence is no longer desired. You leave Sakia to her thoughts. With a smile, you take a step back, extracting yourself from one side of the political gathering and heading over to the other. This group is far more eclectic, with vampires of all genders and personal styles, from bikers in leather to someone dressed for yacht season. Their leader is a large, bald man who looks like he could snap you in half with a hug. Lilith, he calls out, gesturing you forward with a flick of his wrist, bedecked with large rings. We were just talking about you. My name's Ballantine, Christopher Ballantine. Tonight's an auspicious night. Milady de Lazille is finally going to take her rightful place in London. You're with us when it comes to the vote, aren't you? You need to come up with a way to make sure he doesn't act beyond that. Dread him. Rebel. How in the world can I kill him? He just told me that he could literally snap us in half with a hug. Well, I'll lie for now. I'm with you say with a nod. It's easy enough to see which way the wind is blowing at court. Quite so, Ballantine says. I'm glad to hear it. Lady de Lazille will need your support, and it would be a shame to see you pick the wrong side and fall from grace at court so quickly. You've only been one of us, a week? You nod. Just under. Quite so, Ballantine says. As I said, glad to have you with us. I hope you'll prove yourself when the time comes. He brushes past you and the conversation draws to a close. You might have fooled him, but you're certain you haven't managed to prevent him from siding with Saffron. If anything, he seems even more bolder than before. The hour of Witton is drawing near. At 9 o'clock, a gong sounds up and the entire room falls quiet. Evidently, everyone knows what's about to happen. It's probably why there are so many present. Witton, some ancient tradition of London, has a special resonance, it seems. The door is opened by two vampires, man and woman, dressed to impress in three-piece suits that seem to shimmer in the light as they stride forward. Then comes Saffron. She's as radiant as she was last time you saw her. Her red hair draped over one shoulder as she walks with poise and elegance. The crowd's volume remains hushed, but heads turn off for privacy as everyone realizes she is heading to one person, you. There's a gleam in her eye as she walks over, and a mirthful expression on her pillowed lips. Lilith, darling, she says, edging closer with a mocking pout. I heard you had a little trouble last night. I trust you still had the ring I asked for. It would be so remiss of you to forget. Accused. Do I want to be subtle? I really just want to tell her to shove it. And this ring, you say? Holding it up from your pocket? How about you take it and use it to go and fuck yourself? There's a murmur in the crowd. Clearly that kind of vulgar language is something the more prudish vampires don't appreciate. Saffron's smile, however, only grows. Oh, look, the little one has spirit. She claps her hands. That's going to make this so much more fun. I thought to squeeze every last drop of amusement from you when I set my hounds across London. And yet, here you are, making threats you can't back up. It's like Christmas and birthday all in one. A sudden creak of a door grabs your attention, and you watch as the sea of vampires part, revealing an imposing figure of Fergus Branfetter as he strides into the room. Do excuse me, darling, Saffron says. Business before pleasure. The Witton is about to begin. You've never been to Witton before. Apparently the Anglo-Saxon word for a meeting of a king and his nobles. Fergus is clearly in the regal spot. He scans the crowd, eyes falling on you for a brief moment before continuing on again. We gather here, he begins, in uncertain times. It is no secret that the past week has been unusual. A disruption to a city that has known almost 50 years of peace and quiet. First, the attack and illegal turning of one Lilith Rose. It has been a harbinger for increased chaos in the streets. The reappearance of one of us exiled, the attempted murder of a court officer, and the chaos in Holland Park last night. This gathering has been called to settle our disputes in a time-honored way. He clears his throat. Good wife de Lazille wishes to have the floor, but first, I would like to take a moment to address the newest member of our dance tonight. He turns to you. Miss Rose, you have only been with us a short time, and yet you have been a focal point of much chaos. Despite this, you have acquitted yourself with a measured composure and dedication to law, in a sense beyond your years. You honor us in yourself. Fergus' face does not show much emotion as he beckons you forward through the parting crowd. His stare is intense and unblinking as he appraises you. I assigned you a small task a few nights ago, the simple matter of arranging your own death. How did you fare? Well, it went well. Fergus listens to your explanation of what happened at the hospital with stoicism. Good. I heard a similar report from Marky. Sadly, my agent cannot be present tonight, although one cannot keep a good vampire down. There's a grunt. You get the impression that Fergus's idea of a joke. A little ripple of amusement rumbles from his loyalists. Most in the room stay unmoved. The audience continues. Fergus's gaze drifts around the room for a moment, settling on Saffron. His eyes glow with silent rage and disgust. I understand, he says, still addressing you, that good wife de Lazille. Lady de Lazille, someone says. Fergus' head snaps to the errant voice. Silence in my court, he replies, cold and deliberate. I say, good wife. You may labor under the impression she is of noble birth. The truth is that she was a seamstress when she became one of us. Fergus' lips curl. And more besides, no doubt your lady is nothing of the kind. Saffron is incandescent, but still doesn't speak. Once again, Fergus's attention turns to you. You were given a task by good wife de Lazille, he continues. I understand that you had some trouble in its execution. Would you care to elaborate for the court about what came to pass? There's a murmur in the crowd, and Saffron's lips tighten. Clearly, Fergus just outmaneuvered her in asking you to speak. How are you going to take advantage of the situation? We finished insulting for now. Well, I'll just reveal her plan. Marshal, he began, stepping forward. Last night, on a task set for me by Lady de Lazille, I was attacked for the third time in 7 days. The first by Billy Boston ended my mortal life. The second tried to snuff out my own life before it had begun. The third one was to attain this ring. You pull it out from your pocket and hold it up. One of the 3 items needed for the reliquary of souls, granting a vampire who possesses it the power to plunge the land into eternal darkness. I was murdered for another one of them. Murdered at the order of Saffron de Lazille. You point your finger. It's cheesy, but it seems to do the trick. She doesn't want to be Marshal. She wants to rule London under an iron fist. She wants to reveal vampires to the world, and her thirst has pushed her mind beyond rational thought and into delusion. She won't stop until you're ash. We're all ash, and the world is a wasteland before her. There's a murmur in the crowd. Saffron merely rolls her eyes and smiled. Do you expect me to deny it? She asked. Oh, darling, where would be the fun in that? I was getting bored anyway. She raises her hand and gives a signal with the flick of her wrist. Bis mortus, my darlings. At the signal's cry, the room erupts. Half a dozen London vampires darted through the crowd, immediately go on the attack, while simultaneously the doors behind Fergus burst open and a stream of loyalists rush in. Obviously, the senior vampire had predicted an attack. A claw slashes at you, and you fall back, spinning out of its way, lost in the sea of melee combat that separates you from Saffron and Fergus. Dust begins to fill the room like thick smog, and it takes a moment to realize what it is. Vampires being turned to ash. The Wotton is turned into a massacre. And that's not good. The ash in the room is already flying around the environment, and vampires, it turns out, don't die pretty. They die in bursting clouds that cover the furniture and turn the world into a chaotic, confusing fog of war. You find yourself on the floor and take a moment to rise and see what's happening. Deep down, the thirst is already awakening, pumping straight in desperation into your muscles. The scent of decay and misfortune in the air enough to wait its need for butchery. The slaughter has commenced and wants you to join in. You duck as a wild blow comes your way, but the woman who made it, her fangs snapping at you, suddenly vanishes once again in choking dust that engulfs the room, and you spin around to try to get your bearings. Amid the battle, you spot Sakia leaping up in the air, pouncing like a leaf-deadly jaguar. Her fangs are molted with blood and sprinkling crimson on those below as she dives on another victim. She vanishes out of sight for a moment, but a gargled, hapless cry suggests she found her prey. She emerges a second later covered in ash, forcing her way to Fergus's side as his personal bodyguard. Near the window, away to your left, you can make out Christopher Ballantyne's group. Christopher's suit is already ruined by slashes and rips, but he fights with ferocious strength. You watch as he picks up one of Fergus's reinforcements, scooping up the vampire, throwing them straight through the table. The wood cracks and splinters, causing the figure to burst into ash. Ballantine is fully dedicated to, it seems, to Saffron's cause. The only person who isn't fighting is Clem, who, anchored to a corner, is still nursing her goblet and trying to move her cat away from anything that ends up thrown in her direction. Unleash me. Feel the true power you hold within. You hear the thirst screaming for release. Why not indulge it? This battle is no place for human skills. Use my fang, use my mind, change form. We'll go with assassin. That seems cool. You move forward, body turning into a ghostly trail among the ashen cloud, a creature of shadow immune to weapons and blows. A vampire swings at you, but finds nothing to strike. Another drives at your shadow, only for their swing to pass through them. Across the room you fly, coalescing behind an unsuspecting tower of muscle, preparing to finish off one of your own side. Still vaporous, your arm thrust out, materializing within the creature's own chest. Finding your fingers around your opponent's heart, you grasp it, pulling it free as they drift into the depth of crumbling dust. The good. The creaking, hardened voice is unmistakable. You turn, realizing that you somehow entered the mix of Fergus in the battle. He gives you another nod of encouragement. Before you find yourself separated once again, it's a single word, but from Fergus it means everything. This is the full extent of the form. You are a near limitless being, and the battle still rages. You manage to get to your feet. Someone, Sakia perhaps, grabbing you by the arm and lifting you up just in time to see Saffron rushing through the door, her flame-bright hair trailing behind her like a guttering brazier. In her wake is only devastation, the ashen remains of her entire faction, sacrificed in her bid for safety. Some of Sakia's retinue rush out the door behind her, but you doubt they'll catch her. People like Saffron always seem to slip away. Over at the far end of the room, you see Fergus's bodyguards pinning one final vampire against the wall. There's no time for repentance or opportunity for surrender. The pathetic creature is dispatched in an instant. Saffron's coup has failed, and you are victorious. The room is covered in ash. Fergus seems nearly out of breath, if he still breathed. Perhaps he would be, but the firm, ebony, hard manner he had kept until now has vanished, and the warrior's vigor seems to have replaced it. He glances at his defenders. Go, he says with a wave of his hand. Make sure they're gone and the building is secure. Then we shall begin the count of the dead. Everyone departs save you, Fergus, and seated at the end of the room, Clem. The vampire still has her cat in her hand, is juggling sips from her goblet with the occasional twitch of a weary smile. Told you it would be an interesting night, she says. Clem. Fergus' tone is a message unto itself, and the interloper takes a hint. I'll leave you be, she says, picking up her cat and finishing her blood. The door echoes as she closes it behind her. That this leaves you and Fergus Brandfetter. The elder does not speak for almost a minute. Then, I should have prepared. You can thank Marky, you say, smiling at your mentor. It was their belief in you that convinced me you're the best outcome for London. Marky is good and pure being, Fergus grunts. Or as close as one you can be, once thou art damned into the night. We will need their help tomorrow. That is when we shall end this matter once and for all. Why tonight? Because a creature like that flees to lick her wounds. Fergus shifts. I know the location of the reliquary is where the battle will be. Not just between Saffron and myself, but for the fate of London. We must be ready. His eyes lock on yours. We will have to plan. You're confident you'll think of something. And on to the next chapter. Strange bedfellows. Your eyes open. It's night again. Night where everything will change. You're already dressed in your leather jacket, ready for the night ahead. Saffron is prepared too. And it's going to take all your skill to stop her. First, though, you need to gather your allies. Here we are, women of the hour, Marky says, greeting you as you step into the war room of the Loyal Vampires of London. A dining room table has been cleared, and a map stretched over it, covered in toy soldiers that look like futuristic galactic marines. You'll have to excuse the setup. We ain't exactly equipped for a war like this. Fortunately, someone had a few wargaming models. Like I said, there's not a lot to do at night. You just gotta fill your time, ain't you? Are these our forces, you ask? Marky gives a sad shake of their head. Was. Saffron set an entire city ablaze. These are the hot spots. It's chaos out there. She's determined to bring about the end of the world as we know it, you mutter. It's a grave situation, Ferguson tones. Hands clapped behind his back like a general on parade. One that would have been far worse without your aid, Miss Rose. Even so, it's clear that Saffron hopes to distract us by pushing London to the brink of anarchy. She will not succeed. I know where the head of this viper will strike. The leader of the court of London gestures to Sakia, standing at his side. She looks much the same as she did when you last saw her, covered in ash, hair unkempt. For someone who started with ton on the fence, she was fully committed to Fergus's cause, and he realized the two must have been working until dawn last night. There hasn't been any time for luxuries. I think, Sakia says, greeting you with a nod, we have a plan. I became aware of Saffron's unusual interest some time ago, Fergus reports to you. You recall our conversation in the park? It lies under the great Norman keep of the Tower of London. Had I realized the cross of Bagheera or the pirate descendants ring were part of the same plot, I would have acted sooner. My humble apologies. Bleeding air, Marky whistles. That'd be a tough nut to crack. It's where to keep the crown jewels, and its own military detachment and all. And yet that is where she'll strike, knowing that those loyal to the Kirk have been forced to deal with these distracting trifles around the city. I suspect Saffron intends to bring an army to push through. Then I guess we better recruit one ourselves, Marky says, straightening up and turning to address you. You got to go. Of course. Lilith. Saffron wants that ring, and if you do the runner, every vampire blinded by a thirst would hunt you down to get to her. Better to end it now. I'll be coming with you and all. Marky winks reassuringly. As will I, Sakia says, but Marky's wrong about needing an army. 3 vampires can slip through Saffron's guards far more easily than a larger force. That said, the warrior muses, we could do with any advantage we could find. Any ideas of allies we could call upon, Lilith? Nemo, Alex, please, what are we gonna do with the police? Vampires, and we're like, oh, no, that's not gonna go well. What on earth would you call Christopher Valentine? Nemo. It's been a minute. I'm like, Nemo, who Nemo? Alex is just human in all this. They really want to get him involved. I'm like, we going with Nemo. Why don't you ask Nemo for aid, you suggest? The outcast? Sakia's voice raised an octave at the suggestion. Now why not? Marky says in support. Nemo's solid. His decision to go in exile weren't made by the court, and he went toe-to-toe with Bill Boston in the past. Besides, ain't no one in London who knows Underground better. I reckon Nemo's prob's got some sneaky little way to get us past any guards. Sakia nods. So be it. Looks like we know what's what then, Marky concludes, and that means we have a few hours for free. Your lover says. I think, given we're about to head off on a mission with a strong possibility of sudden doom, we should go find somewhere quiet and get some rest, unless I guess you have other plans. You might die in the battle to come, so there's no reasons not to ignite any passions that exist. Who would you like to stay with, and see if you can kindle a romance? Well, we're just gonna go with Marky. I'm like, Alex is just a friend, so I want Marky to stay with me. I think having someone there for me would help a lot, he said, nodding. Can you think of anyone who might be able to help? Well, Marky replies with a smile. It's a tough job, but I reckon I can find someone. We'll meet you at Tower Hill, Sakia says. Saffron loves the melodramatic. I suspect she'll strike at midnight. See you then, Marky says with a wink, and they offer you their hand. You head off together. It's not hard to slip away from the main room and find somewhere quiet. Upstairs, the Vampire's Club maintains an elegant, if small, sweet. It's supposed to be sweet. I say cute. Upstairs, the Vampires Club maintains an elegant and small suite, complete with a comfortable sofa, a soft, comfortable bed, and blacked-out windows prevent the dawn catching the guests unawares. Although a lock isn't much of a challenge for a vampire, you still ensure the door is closed and bolted so you can have a little privacy. Marky stands before you, their body ready for your touch, should you wish. Old eyes behind a youthful visage study you, eagerly waiting to see where the night will take you. What do we want to do tonight? 1, 2, 3, or 4. Do we wanna? We could just do that. Or do we go all the way? Cuddle, go down. Me go down or you go down? We'll go all the way. I want to be with you, Marky, you say, sliding closer to the vampire, your hand ruffling through the hair. Just for tonight. I want to forget the rest of the world exists. You're greeted with a kiss, gentle and delicate, a butterfly's wing on your lips. The kiss is followed by a slow touch as your leather jacket falls to the floor, even as Marky begins to disrobe. Your bodies move in sync, both eager for the next step. As you stand there, two vampires, two creatures of the night, two beings of darkness, who should not feel love, but are somehow consumed by it. The foreplay continues, teasing touches, brushes of lips, caresses across your dark skin, and a playful tug at your locks to move you into position, so that your bodies can move as one. Marky's body is just as you imagine, a white sheet of perfection, something that you long to hold and to be with. And as your vampire lover moves toward you with gentle touches and showers of affection, you can't imagine any person you would rather be with. Marky holds you in the darkness long after it's time to go, their youthful body resting against yours, pale skin against your dark tone. You need to get through this, the vampire finally says. We both do. You in particular, Marky replies. I can't exist without you, Lilith. I never felt this. I've never fallen so hard and so instantly. I can't have a night without you in it. You reach over and stroke Marky's hair. Don't talk like that. I need to, Marky replies. If I didn't tell you how I felt, I'd regret it for eternity. You hold each other a little longer until it's time to go and face one final battle in this adventure. The reliquary of souls awaits. Tower Hill, almost midnight. London is burning. For the past 3 hours, Saffron's distractions have only intensified. You've taken a moment away from your allies to gather your wits and give Marky a chance to coordinate with the other court loyalists. It's clear that Saffron's plan is to try and send the court in all directions. It hasn't worked. Nor are Saffron's attempts to shake the city into awareness of your kind. The dance of the night, the thin veil that conceals the presence of vampires is still in effect, and in general London seems as calm and pleasant as it did when you first arrived. Any hotspots of aggression are handled swiftly and effectively by the police. The secret of vampirism is safe. Fire in the air, the voice comes from behind you, even though you thought you were alone. Haven't you done well, Lilith? Saffron de Lizelle has underestimated you at every turn, and so she does again. Now you stand on the verge of stopping her, and perhaps claiming a greater prize too. You turn around. A figure stands before you, and at once you realize you are in the presence of a being of immense power. He's a man, clean-shaven with dark red hair, and he stands only at average height. Yet somehow, with his sharp eyes and effortless bearing, he exudes a confidence that sets every sense on edge. He has come, and even you must bow. The voice of Thirst is strangely reverential. I've been watching you for some time, Lilith, he continues, voice barely above a whisper, and rich in mystery. Ever since you drank my blood as you lay broken and dying in a Heathrow car park. He takes a step forward. I would have introduced myself, but it's imperative that you are considered a masterless orphan. I have not created another in almost 900 years, and the blood in your veins is far more potent than any other vampire in London, perhaps in all of Europe. Surely you've noticed how you've gained skills in days that others learn in decades. If you were known to be my progeny, either I would have had to reveal myself. If you were known to be my progeny, either I would have to reveal myself, or they would try to use you for political gain. And that wouldn't resolve the game we're playing. And the voice remains quiet, slow, each word chosen with deliberate weight. My name is Bohemond of Toronto. Among our kind, I'm usually referred to as Bohemond the Undying. The baubles you chase are mine. You're face to face with your creator. How do you feel? Why would I be excited? I don't know. Confused? Angry? No, I'm not really angry. We kind of got over the being vampire, so I'm not too angry. It's more so like, why are you only now disappearing? I'm a bit confused. I don't understand, you say. You're only turning up now? There was nothing for me to add before, Bohemian says, almost dismissively. Nothing would have changed, save to alert the different camps to my presence. It was better to let these events play out. Perhaps you would care to hear why. The tale's been told to you by the outcast, Nemo, the vampire says. A queer one, that, he does not need to wear the mask. It is simply a reminder to him of how badly he let his thirst take hold. You nod. Well, that is one version of events. I will not bore you with my life story. The words are true up to a point. I did make myself a kingdom in the hills of Carpathia, a land of darkness which I could stalk with impunity. I was a god draining mortals on a whim, lording it over the populace. And it's true that a group of knights came to slay me, Bohemian shrugs amicably. As you can see, they failed. In truth, I killed them all, feasted upon them, placed their heads upon spikes as a warning to others. And 'twas when I was struck by an epiphany. This power I had gained did not make my thirst vanish, nor did it satisfy my demand for more. None would. Bohemian looks out at the city. I was the one who gave up the royal clearly of souls. It can make you powerful. It could, I believe, make one pure of heart mortal again. Then the all-powerful life is far duller than you would imagine. The beauty in this world, Lilith, is watching it grow and evolve, stepping in when you must, but only with a guiding hand, not a controlling fist. My decision was validated when the Templars finally broke the trinket into 3 pieces. Bohemian looks at you. Saffron has not learned this universal truth, that unpredictability produces the best results for us all. And in you, I saw an opportunity to throw in a wild card. So a little chaos. Your very existence changed the game. So what do I do? Why me? Probably just because I had the real clearly begin with. He doesn't want to act directly, so. Why are we even ask how you turn into a vampire? We're like, you got bit, that's why you got to turn into a vampire. And drink their blood, but yes. What should I do with it? I do not care, Bohemian says with a missive wave of his hand. Use it to plunge the world into night. Use it to save London. Or save yourself. Or save another. Destroy it. The choice is yours. You are the remnant element in this dance of night. You are a sentient roll of a die. Whatever you decide, the world shall chart its course accordingly. Well, the figure says quietly, after a moment's pause. Who vadis? That is to say, where do you think you're going with all this? Do I really want power? No. Maybe later, but no. I'm kind of fine. I'm just with Marky. Got Alex for a friend. As if he wants to talk to me again. Making my choice for love. I love, Bohemian says with a nod. I wish I could remember it. I have not felt love for some time. Lust, yes, but love, that's like trying to catch lightning from the air. And when you speak of love, you mean Marky? Bohemian seems amused. The last of the street urchins, and perhaps the last truly pure heart in London. I've been watching Marky since well before you were born. Your love is a vampire in name only, and far more in connection with their humanity than any other. If you wish it, I suspect it is possible to return both of you to mortality through the power of the relativity of souls. If you truly love them, I suspect you could give Marky no greater gift than a second chance in the sun. Bohemian straightens up, tugging at his shirt to remove any creases. Well, there you have it. Tonight you decide the fate of this little game. I shall see you again once the ripples of your choice become apparent. Choose wisely. You have already found a partner in Marky, who will provide you with good counsel on your chosen path, whatever it may be. Your creator lets out a low, mirthful chuckle. I can't wait to find out. This has been the most diverting game in centuries. So this is just a game to you, okay? What the hell, you ask? Is that it? Seriously? You just turned up to monologue? What kind of vampire are you? Behemoth looks at you, and then turns and walks away, his voice drifting on the wind as he vanishes from view. An orb asking, yes, 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 and one that's old enough not to value impudent notions of propriety. Best of luck, Lilith. You'll need it. It's time for the final chapter of this tale. We already at the end of this. Well, we're gonna pause right here. I'll be right back in secondary horror. This will just be a 3-chapter episode right here. The Tower of London. For centuries, the bastion of the city guarding the river Thames. Outer walls, inner walls, a large Norman keep that stood for thousands of years and been home to kings and queens. And under it all, the reliquary of souls. Its history as bloody as it is legendary. Tonight, yet more blood will spill. The battle of the tower has begun. You can see across Tower Hill that the gate seems eerily silent against the backdrop of the Thames. The Tower of London is a misnomer. It is a fortress with inner walls and outer walls, and a great keep rising up at the heart of a complex. It has been a prison, a palace, and a place of execution. Unfortunately, the way is blocked. A crowd has gathered along the Thames, no doubt spurred on by the events unfolding tonight. Perhaps they're a little surprised that people are looking for somewhere secure. While most Londoners were home as riots and trouble began, there was always a crowd of city dwellers looking for a drink and entertainment in the late evening. With the trouble erupting, the tube network would have shut down and buses would have been cancelled. These are the stranded Londoners seeking safety in numbers. You're gonna have to get around them if you want to continue. Oh, they look like they could be a problem. A voice springs up behind you. Turning, you find a familiar figure emerging from the bushes. A creature of tattered leather and a hideous mask. Nemo. Not as large as a problem as the figure I just saw you talking with, though. Well, who knew Behemoth was in town? Tell most vampires that, and they wouldn't believe you. We saw, but I'm just gonna thank you for coming, though. Nemo shrugged. Second time, I hope you know. You're practically making a habit of it. It's also a worthwhile cause. If you're going to get to Saffron, you're going to have to get through Bill Boston, aren't you? And I owe Billy Boy a little payback. Consider it my passport back into vampiric society. If Nemo's mask could smile, you're pretty sure he'd be grinning. What do we do about the crowd, you ask, gesturing down the hill. Ignore them, Nemo says with a shrug. I've got a much easier route. This way, if you please. You follow your new ally. The mystery Nemo's appearance is quickly answered the moment you step through the shrubberies that line the path. A vent shooting straight up soon appears, and the vampire hops down into gloom with minimal effort. You follow and almost immediately you find yourself landing in some kind of maintenance tunnel filled with electrical pipes and humming circuitry. All these years and I never knew this was here, a new voice says. You turn, Marky gives you a wave. Zakia Koskit stands impassively beside them. I gather your friends beforehand, Nemo says with a cackle. This is part of the district line shooting off towards Tower Hill Station. But there's also a spur line that pushes out to the DLR. And that, my fine friends, happens to lead directly under the northern part of the Tower in London. He takes off, beginning a little jig as he paces along the concrete toward his destination. Through a labyrinth of service tunnels, squeezing under wires and into emergency vents, and once crossing over the tracks of an underground line. And we talk to Nemo. Should plan with Sakia, but I also get the time to talk to Marky. I mean, we really should talk to her, but you fall back into stride with Marky. How are you holding up, you ask. Marky gives you a thumbs up and leans in, keeping her voice low. I held my own a few hours back. I think it ain't too bad in it. That little voice becomes a little more than a whisper. Whatever happens, I'll keep you safe, Lilith. I promise it, love. You're about to speak further when Nemo holds up his hand. Inside voice now, kiddies. He says, turning his horrifying visage to you all. We're right where we should be. One of the benefits of living underground is to get to know all these little hidey holes. Sneaky, aren't I? Very, Sakia says, placing a hand on the monstrous figure's shoulder. You know, Nemo, you don't have to stay on the ground. None of us blame you for what happened. I never said you did, Nemo replies, giving the hand a mocking pat. No, Sakia, I blame myself, and the only way I control my thirst is if I know Boston is out of the picture. Now, shall we dance? He points across to the other wall in a small series of broken, rusted rungs leading up to a manhole covering in the ceiling. One at a time, you merge into the night, and it's only as you glance around you realize where you are, inside the Tower of London. Your entry to the great keep at the heart of the Tower of London, the White Tower, is a little underwhelming. The place is a museum, and it's impressive in its own way, full of medieval weaponry on the walls, but the space is open, save for a well in the corner. The lights are out, and the room is silent. It's like no one's home. You pause and take a stock for a moment. How far you've come. You think back to the woman you first met in the morgue. Twice they tried to kill you, and twice you held back. Fergus Brand fed her in Marshall, London, whose iron hand is trying even now to calm the fires across the city, an unseen hand guiding humanity. Your old life in New York. You could still hear Conman's voice down the corridor. If you could rewind time, would you have taken this assignment? Marky beside you, as always, your undead lover filled with a sweetness and hope for the world that few can match. So what now? Marky says, glancing around. Stairs, Sakia says, leading down. Don't fancy jumping down the well, Marky jokes, walking over to peer down. In this outfit? Sakia recurs with a smirk. It's the last thing she ever says. Behind her, a shadow seems to rise out of nowhere. You watch in horror as a giant clawed hand bursts through her chest. Its claws tearing out her heart. Sakia barely has time to look down at her own vital organs, the smile evaporating from her face as her body disintegrates into a pile of ash. You back away shocked and find yourself shoulder to shoulder with Marky in front of you. The shadow solidifies and materializing figure cracks his neck as he shakes off the dust that was once Sakia Koski. Bill Boston stands before you, and once more he has nothing but murder in his mind. Boston. The mad cackle that crackles through the halls loud and echoes with sheer malice. So you inbred waste of defective ejaculate. Really? So you inbred waste of defective ejaculate, you haunted port mannequin, you loathsome walking advertisement for antifungal cream, you dare show your face in my city. You glance at Marky watching as Nemo shoves his way between you. Boston merely grins, his twisted smile monstrous as he cracks his neck. No pity come back? Nemo laughs. Isn't that fortunate? You won't be cursed with the sewage outflow you call your breath. We have unfinished business, you and I. Marky, Lilith, would you be so kind as to stand back and let me hand this corpulent boobo on the arched cheeks of England? Boston doesn't reply, but from the red glaze building over his eyes, you know Nemo's getting under his skin. The beast has been prodded and poked. Now it's time for execution. You know Nemo's willing to die to end Boston's life. Unless you rush to help him, you're sure he'll get his wish. I kind of want to let him fight alone, because like he said, he's like, this is my fight and everything, but at the same time, I don't want you to die. Or do I look away to tilt the odds, but I'm like, Nemo probably better, why you do that? Definitely ain't gonna join the fight. It's hard. I feel if I choose this, Nemo would definitely end up dying. But I feel like that would be like the one thing he wants the most. It's just him and Boston. So I feel like we're gonna have to go with that. You consider helping, but you pause for a moment and reconsider it. This is Nemo's fight, after all, one that he's yearned for. Marky looks to you and realizes what's happening. The vampire gives a small nod of assent as Nemo steps forward. Billy, Bill, Billy Willie, Bill. Nemo continues, his body seemingly growing in stature as he pulls a steak from his pocket. How long have I yearned for this night? If Boston has an answer, he doesn't make it. Instead, he simply keeps circling, eyeing his opponent carefully. Silence falls across the room. And then in a sudden bolt, a rush like a flash of lightning, the two enemies hurl themselves at each other, claws out, speed blurring as they leap into each other, focused on death. With growing horror, you realize that Nemo's laying his own guard completely open, focused only on the kill. Bill's doing likewise. As the bodies collide, you know the battle will be over in an instant. Nemo strikes first, straight at Bill's chest, a deadly thrust that almost instantly begins to turn the monster to ash. Yet Bill's last blow is just as deadly. Nemo's body convulsing as a claw penetrates his torso, and he too begins to break apart. No, Marky screamed, rushing forward as the duelists both tumble to ash on the ground. Nemo, no! The anguish is writ large on Marky's face. Their knees buckle and give way, the vampires slump into the ground. Nemo, they say quietly, you were my friend. There's no time to grieve, however. You walk over, helping Marky to their feet. You need to keep moving if you're going to stop this madness, and Bill was the last obstacle in your path. Saffron is waiting. Let's get this done. Down the stairs through an oak door, the old bricks of the Tower of London give way to Dixian slime. The odor of sewer hits you, followed by a sweet rush of clean air and water from the Thames. This is the cistern of a great castle, modernized for workers, but otherwise left intact and undisturbed. Up ahead in gloom, you can see a figure beckoning you forward. Oh, Lilith, Saffron thrills. You know I heard the most ghastly rumor that you died earlier this week. It was all in the papers. The police decided to abandon their little search for you, and yet here you are once again. This is the 4th time I've tried to kill you, and you're still walking around. It's really most off-putting. Marky keeps glancing around. Can't see any traps to say. 'Cause there aren't any. Saffron laughs before stepping inside. Behind her in an alcove in the cistern wall is a small box. She gestures to it calmly. Ta-da, she offers. Didn't I tell you the truth, Lilith? Reliquary of souls, and all I need is that pretty little ring you took from dear little Alex. You brought me the ring, haven't you? Why not join me? We will unite my side forever. You push the voice of the thirst down even before it starts speaking to your soul. You have no interest in its lies. Why would I be polite at this time? Nah. I'll just tell her to go to hell. Go to hell, you gibbering lunatic. You say, rolling your eyes. Marky barely resists a snort of amusement. Some cough, Saffron says in a mock hurt. You wound me, and here I am merely trying to make a world a little bit better for all of us. You reach the edge of the cistern, a narrow walkway separating you and Marky from Saffron and a reliquary. She reaches into her suit and pulls out something gold and glistening, the cross of Aguirre. Funny how it all started because of this, Saffron muses. Now you're going to hand me the ring or not? Obviously you can't do that. But you could always throw it away. Saffron would lose no matter what. Though of course you would lose any hope of becoming human again. Obviously you can't do that, but you could always throw it away. Saffron would lose no matter what. Though of course you would lose any hope of becoming human again, too. Perhaps it would be possible to reason with her, although that would depend on who is still alive, how well you're performed as a vampire, and your relationship with her. So there ain't no way we're gonna be able to reason with her because I keep insulting her, so don't even do that right now. Throw the ring into the things. I'm like, can't someone always, like, was there, I forget, was there a reason why can we not touch water or something? Because I'm like, eventually someone's gonna come across the ring, be like some person diving in the water, be like, oh, look at this. I'm like, no. Let's just kill her. Screw it, he said, nodding to Marky. I'm done talking. Let's end this. Saffron grins and leaps at your throat. You fought brute strength. You fought mortals and hunters. You never fought an opponent with such speed and cunning as Saffron de Lazille. In one moment, her fangs are snapping at your neck. In the next, her claws are reaching you, pawing at you, prepared to rend you in half. You dodge the blows, your own speed and pace increasing as you feel the vampire powers you possess surging within. Marky's there too. The vampire's blows just as quick, just as supernatural. As the dancing melee zigs and zags across the cistern, each blow met with counter, each block with another haired assault. I fight Saffron with the fang. I unleash the final form. I plague Saffron's mind. Oh, I have the power. Thanks to Bahamut, the Demon. I forgot his name already. But I have that. I have the power, so we might as well use it. We're going to unleash the final form. Saffron's speed is alarming, and you have to grasp at the shadows, pulled in close to dodge her blows and evade her. Like vapor, you flow and weave, escaping certain doom from every strike. Saffron, you realize, is no ordinary opponent. She is truly a formidable warrior. Saffron strikes hit nothing as you embrace the shadows of the cistern, becoming immaterial, untouchable as you dodge out of her reach. She snarls, eyes blood red and fangs bared as she gives herself fully to the thirst, becoming little more than a husk, a massive humanity, to the true nature of the vampire's curse. It's a terrifying sight, but as always, you have an ally in a fight against such unimaginable terror, Marky. The vampire races into attack, landing a series of swipes against Saffron's back and causing her to divert her attentions. She's easily superior to Marky's own skill. However, and Cookie pushes back the noble attempt with a twisting, furious counter of her own. It's giving you room to move, however. One with the shadows, your body looms up skyward, trying to cross the ceiling in sheer cloud of jet, gathering every shadow in every corner of this dim, dank room to your aid. You cast out your tendrils, shadows wrapping across one of Saffron's wrists, then the other. Then as she howls and struggles, binding around her neck, constricting, twisting, in a noose of sheer midnight as she and the monster inside her desperately try to break free. Marky staggers back, free from her assault, as you tighten the binds. No, Saffron's voice howls, her tone gravel as you tighten around her. I'm so close, so close. It's the closest she'll ever be. With a final yank, your shadows collapse her body inward, crushing her black heart and turning her to dust. Moments later, you solidify once more, hitting the ground hard atop the ashen remains of your greatest foe. Saffron is no more. The cistern falls silent, a strange lull, the calm after a storm's passage, or perhaps the eerie silence before the winds pick up and bring ruin once more. The golden cross of Aguirre, the relic that you brought to London in first place, is strewn at your feet. You run a hand through your locks cut and look over at Marky. Your lover is there, wounded, exhausted, but still alive. Or undead. Or however Marky identifies. The vampire blows you a kiss and chuckles at the childishness of it. It's over, they say. I can't believe it. You did it, Lilith. You beat her. Saffron de Lizille, gone and in time forgotten. London saved. You rise, walking over to pick up the cross of Aguirre. Turning it on your hands, the dark thoughts of the thirst tremble at the realization of what you hold. Power. The reliquary of souls is mere feet away. All you have to do is slide the cross into the top and then use a portable ring sitting in your pocket to open the lock. Everything Saffron desired, everything you could desire is there for the taking. It'd be so easy to use it, you say, looking back at Marky. The vampire's face, previously triumphant, suddenly looks nervous. You're not going to, are you? Marky pleads. Of course I won't use it. Just not touch it whatsoever. You glance back at Marky and smile. No, you say, passing across the Aguirre over to him. Right now, I just really want to get out of here. Marky laughs. My thoughts exactly, love. My thoughts exactly. And so the sun rises over London. And then we got the epilogue. It's with relief that you disassemble the reliquary of souls, and then the threat of an item so potent that the warrior monks of old sent its component parts to the New World. In the days to come, the cross of Aguirre is mysteriously found in London and returned to New York. The portobello ring and reliquary itself also find themselves in travels into the unknown, one to the bottom of the ocean and the other to the far east. And that leaves you vampire. Yet a vampire renowned and respected in the London court. Someone who in a week learned the steps and notions of the dance of night. Someone who became more than a mere foundling into the danger of Saffron de Lizille and became a paragon of vampiric virtue. In the years, decades, centuries to come, you regarded as one of the world's foremost vampires. You make mistakes, of course, yet you demonstrate your wisdom too. The fate of London. The riots that broke out in London are soon quelled. Lives have been lost, shops and homes destroyed, livelihoods ruined, and yet somehow no news ever emerges of the true reason the capital was aflame. The world of vampires, the secret rulers of the metropolis, is kept as quiet as it has been before. It is thanks to you that the terrible secret of how the world is run never graces the minds of the mortals that inhabit it. And London is able to flourish, as it always has. Your timely arrival at the Tower of London meant that Saffron had no opportunity to coordinate her forces. The remnants of Saffron's attempted coup are quickly surrounded, swept up and crushed, and in their threat to London, ensuring the city is largely preserved, despite the widespread rioting. Your efforts to fake your own death produce mixed results, and for years you remain a person of interest in the theft of the cross of Aguirre. Thanks to the high-profile nature of the case, sightings of Lilith Rose become common around London. You are seen in a chip shop, buying a plane ticket, hanging out with Elvis. Who's to say which of the rumors are true? But what of the others? Alex Hayward. Alex Hayward had been caught up in an adventure not of his own making. The coming days led to serious soul-searching as the adventure played in Alex's mind over and over again. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the brief taste of the vampire world sees Alex seeking out London's community of hunters and offering Matchlock Manor, newly refurbished and repaired, as a haven for those who would fight vampirism everywhere. Man, Alex. I was like, can't we be friends? I'm like, you over here decide to go become a vampire hunter. The betrayal. Why you gotta do this to me, Alex? Thought we were friends. You really gonna try to kill me now? Kurt Wilcox. Kurt Wilcox is never seen again after your night at the Tower of London. The vampire hunter vanishes into the shadows. Perhaps he died attempting to defeat Saffron's forces. Or perhaps he realizes that sometimes the best people to police vampires are the vampires themselves. Other hunters persist, but Kurt's vigil is over. Marquis we shall speak of later. Saffron de Lazille. The life of Saffron de Lazille came to an anonymous inn inside a sewer cistern deep under the Tower of London. For all her pretense of being a lady, perhaps it was fitting in for the girl whose black heart had been dirtied on city streets. Her followers soon drift to the winds, and London never knows how fortunate it was to be spared her reign of vampiric jealousy and insatiable desire for control. In the days to come, the thing runs black as her ash, heightened by the mysterious power of the reliquary stains the great river. It's a fate Saffron would have enjoyed. After all, darling, if you can't win, at least you can make a statement. The Mortals of London. Zach Locke. You never met Zach Locke during your time in London, so his fate means little to you. I have no idea who you are. Agnes Jones. You never encountered Agnes Jones. So many people we have yet to meet. I'm guessing we're only going to read this once, but for those who actually want to know more, how this would end, or if you want to be with Alex more than Marky, you can always go back and read it. Mo Hassan. Detective Mo Hassan never finds Lilith Rose, the alleged thief of the Cross of Aguirre. Some say you're dead, but he never believes it. And even though the cross is returned, the case often plays on his mind. Only a few unanswered questions in an otherwise glittering career. The Sisters of Saffron. The trio known as the Sisters flee London after battle with the Tower, and their mistress dead. The vampiric spell that kept them obedient and unquestioning was broken, and the confused socialites need time away from the city to recover. They eventually return to their former lives as socialites in West London. None of them, however, can forget what they did, or the world of vampires. Their lives are haunted by the mysteries of the night. The Vampires of London. Fergus Branfetter rallies the Loyalists of London together to make sense of the chaos Saffron wrought in her pursuit of the reliquary of souls. Thanks to his efforts, the Vampire Court of London, that the city preserves, and the dance of night continues. In time, the grim figure decides to end his vigil and stands down in favor of a younger, more energetic Marshal. The world, Fergus concedes, no longer makes sense to him, and he decides to retire to the wild fens of Cambridgeshire, where he can disapprove of modern life and peace. Christopher Ballantyne. Christopher Ballantyne vanishes among the chaos of the coup. He had been one of Saffron's chief agents, and when it becomes clear her efforts have failed, he decided to cut his losses and flee. He does not get far. Every vampire in the United Kingdom has heard of his treachery, and he has no friends to fall back on for help. Ballantyne is found sneaking aboard a cargo ship in Tilbury, and the next morning his ashes are brushed into the sea, the mortal crew member oblivious as to what left a strange pile of soup upon the deck. Sakia Sakia. I still don't think I'm pronouncing your name right, but it's going to be Sakia Skoshit, died at the hands of Bill Boston. A stalwart fighter meet her in the depths of White Tower. It was a sacrifice she would have made gladly. If she had known of her fate prior, for with her death you were able to stop Saffron. Bill Boston. William Boston, the beastly figure who murdered you at Heathrow, had died never knowing Saffron de Lazille's true intent. In the end, his brutal strength and enraged attacks were no match for the skill of you and your allies. A creature of wrath, you mourn his passing. Nemo had been a vampire who lived in exile thanks to his battle against the thirst. It was a silent struggle, and would not only ever be resolved with the death of Bill Boston, the vampire who had triggered his base instincts. Perhaps it was fitting then that Nemo died slaying his nemesis. It was a sacrifice he made gladly, and as he watched Boston turn to dust, even his own curse ended. Nemo had found the peace that had eluded him in the underground tunnels of London. Brother Spiky, his pet hedgehog, is sad to see him go. Eventually finds a new forever home in a sanctuary for London's wildlife. Clem never changes. She sips hemoglobin, protects her cat Beans, and judges everything with a sense-weary amusement on her lips. Clem's companionship is all a feline could desire. Beans lives well. Her nights filled with warm fires, yummy food, and laps to sit in. Bohemond the Undying. As for Bohemond the Undying, the vampire who started it all, he vanishes once more into shadow. He becomes Ghost 3, a boogeyman whom vampires speak of to their fledgling charges. Perhaps he is watching from the shadows still, or perhaps he grew weary of the endless dance of the night and decided to greet the sun one last time. Regardless, you never see or hear from the vampire who created you again. And what of your love? The night comes easy to London like the first gasp of a drowning man being brought back to life. On the streets, the mess of the previous night's chaos still reigns. In the shadows of vampire halls, however, tension has abated. Saffron de Lazille has been defeated, after all. London and the world beyond is free. Rise and shine, the body says next to you, staring adoringly into your eyes, the corners of the lips upturned in a cheeky grin. Marquis say, softly easing back, can't believe it's over. Well, maybe now you can have a normal life as an undead, blood-sucking super zombie night thing, your partner says. Of course, there ain't much about it, come to think. Though something tells me you ain't never really been one for the normal life. What do I want? Do I want to spend eternity? Get a killing? All those are good, but I was like, I'm content just to spend eternity with Marky. If I wanted normal, I'd never have found you, you say, smiling at your lover. Marky's face breaks out in that irresistible, irrepressible smile. My lucky night, Marky says. Though, truth be told, every night I get to spend with you is a lucky one, Lily. No peas in the pod, you and I ain't letting you out my sight again. You let out a soft chuckle. So what's next? Honestly, Marky says, I was thinking we get the bloody hell out of London. You know, I ain't never been out further than Putney and I on 160 years. I want to see the world. I'm done being the last of Victorian Street urchins now. The vampire tries to avert the gaze. Now I just want to be with you. I want my passion for you to shine in every word and every deed, from this night until the end of it all. So you tell me, where are we going? Where do I want to go? No, do we really want to go back to New York yet? The Himalayas? Let's go to Paris. Oh, the Himalayas sound interesting though. Let's go to the Himalayas. The what? Marky says, a little taken back. You want to take in the mountain there? Okay, let's do it. Though we have to watch out for others who make a home up there. I'm sure we can handle any enemy we encounter at the roof of the world, though. You're not sure if Marky is joking or not. You never are. Really, it's part of the reason you fell in love with the sweet, dreaming soul that first found you in the alley all those nights ago. Fate has strewn you together, and now you doubt you're ever going to be apart. What's next? A grand adventure? Or a monster to slay? Or a political knot to unravel? You have no idea, but you're looking forward to finding out. And that right there is the end of Vampire's Kiss. We finally got through it. Only now to the end that I realized I can change the background. If I do any more of these readings, that's if y'all want. I just remember to change that. Depends on how well it does. I hardly get any views to begin with, so you're like, do y'all want me to do like a whole nother reading? Be trying to work on speaking better? And for those who don't know, like on Steam, this is by Heart's Choice. So they got like other stories like this. If you don't want necessarily vampires, I would have to look at. I forgot what some of them were, but they do have like other different types of stories that you can read.